What's going on, y'all? Episode 14. 14. It's your boy JH Gibbons.
We'll see.
Welcome to yet another episode of the Achromous podcast. Wowee, what a week.
Mhm.
It has been busy, it has been crazy. There's a lot going on in society too, as well as in our personal lives, but man, we made it. We made it to another Sunday. I'm sure you made it as well. Welcome once again to another episode of the Achromous podcast. If you have not started following us yet, if you have not heard about us, if this is your first time, welcome. You can follow us on Spotify. You can follow us on IG. You can follow us on YouTube. Anywhere where podcasts are being heard, you can hear us. So, again, we want to welcome the newcomers. We want to welcome back everybody who's been riding with us since episode one. So, sit back and enjoy the Achromous podcast. We'll see. How was your week, man?
It's been quite a week, a long one, as I'd imagine for a lot of people. But as you stated, Jay, we're here. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling thankful to be here, grateful, humble, and just ready to do our thing as we always do. Sending nothing but
Yes,
love, peace, prosperity, joy, and sincerity your way, folks. This is what we do.
absolutely. This is
That's
what we
that.
do. This
Yeah.
is what we do. We are constantly looking to improve. We're constantly looking to get better. But with that being said, especially when we're getting into today's topic of infinite improvement, we want to make sure that there is a line that we get to where we know that okay, now we're going to be able to take it to the next level. We've done everything that we could up until this point. Now, how do we reach more followers? How do we get more engagement? How do we produce better content? What is the next move for us? So, as you know, we are developing the 21-3 method, which of course digs in to Will C's journey, both mentally, spiritually, and physically, all through the Achromous podcast, all through Achromous Fitness, everything Achromous related. And in this program that we're creating, literally goes by day for everything that he went through, the emotions he went through, the habits he built along the way. So you can literally follow this guy to a T and attain those results that you've been looking for, that you've been putting off for so many years. You could finally get into it. So we'll see for this particular podcast, especially when it comes to infinite improvement. I want you to just take us through your journey. Take us through where you started, where you are now, and how you've been improving daily to the point where you know that the improvement is coming, you know that the improvement is real, but you're not just constantly stuck in this cycle where you're improving the same things over and over again. You literally take it to the next step and the next level, and you continue to grow.
Okay, Jay. All right. Well, for those of you who've joined in previous episodes, I know we've kind of touched base on certain aspects of that part of my journey. And for those of you that know me personally as well, it's been here to see it. You've observed the transformation from a physical perspective, and in more instances of late, definitely from a spiritual. And just in general, where you meet me now, you're like, "Who are you?" And I'm like, "Hello, I'm Will. We'll see. Nice to meet you." So, and then the reason for that is because who I was is not who I am. Where it was a trifecta that had to happen to bring about this metamorphosis of my true awakening of being confident in life, being confident in loving myself, and being able to project that energy to the world and showcase it for everyone to see. So that started not now, of course. This has been a tedious process, but one where when I became um, awakened to what needed to happen, it was doing the most difficult parts of my life, uh, where I had reached several pivotal points where growth wasn't happening
Hmm.
in every aspect of my life. It just wasn't happening anymore, and I had hit a ceiling, and
Hmm.
I had realized it was time to break through.
Hmm.
Albeit in this particular instances, a lot of it was by force. To be totally transparent, it was by force where life had put me to a certain position where I had to break through to grow.
Mm.
So
So
when mhm.
I didn't mean to interrupt, but
No, no, please.
that's a good point. So when people are forced to move forward, I think this is exactly where they get trapped in this sort of infinite loop of improving the same things that they've already improved on.
Mhm.
They feel as though taking it to that next level will be scary. There's a lot of fear, there's a lot of uncertainty. You don't know what's going to come of it. You're exposing yourself, you're a little bit more vulnerable. Take us through how you were able to bypass that or push through it, even if it is through force. What
Mhm.
exactly went through your mind or went through your body to say, "Oh man, I gotta get past this now."
Um, I would have to say in those instances, um, we all encounter it. Fear.
Mm,
Fear is the number one thing to me that is detrimental to that process where either you embrace it or you run from it. But you have to acknowledge it.
mm,
So for me, that was part of the calculus that made me realize, okay, this is done. I have to face this now. If I don't do this now, I'll break. And life as I know it would just not be whatever it could be. And that's what happened. It's just realizing that first fear. So it's really important to understand that fear can be a healthy thing for you if managed right. For me in my journey, that's what happened because I was so fearful of everything that I had been going through and just thinking the worst of outcomes because I am a deep thinker. I am
mm,
an empath by nature,
right.
So there are different parts of me where at that point in life I felt so deeply that it was just time for the change to occur and everything about my being knew it was time. And again, in my instances, I was being forced in a way where the universe was pushing things towards me to know it was time for William to evolve because you had been this way for predominantly your entire life and
Right.
you weren't loving yourself through the process to know that you could be better at everything that you're doing. You can be greater. You have a higher purpose in
Mm,
life. So for me, I had to realize fear was the factor of that because the moment that
mm,
I decided to face myself meant to face that fear, all those fears
mm,
of from it being physical or feeling like I'm not where I needed to be in life, knowing I could get there. I just,
mm.
for whatever reason, that thing wasn't clicking.
Was it a
Mhm.
daily struggle for you to get through that? I mean, I know
Yeah.
what ends up happening is that there's some times where you get to this point of, all right, I got to do something, I got to face this fear, and then I think when people tell stories on it, it seems like there was a click, there was a snap, and then all of a sudden their fears have been, destroyed, and they've
Mhm.
been able to move on, they've been able to build, healthy habits, build, a massive fortune, whatever their story is. It seems like there was this one time, but I think we have to be honest with ourselves and, of course with our audience, that this is a constant thing. Like you are constantly facing your fear,
Yeah, that's
um
exactly.
every single day,
Mhm.
especially when you choose to, when you make that decision that you're like, okay, this is going to be my new life, this is who I really am. I am now coming into myself, I'm coming into who I am. So this is what it looks like. And each and every day you have to become comfortable with being uncomfortable, so that you can continue to face that fear, continue to attain those goals that have seemed unreachable in the past. You're now standing right in front of it, and it's within arm's reach. So you just have to keep pushing. You have to keep going through your fear, and you have to keep diving in.
I totally agree with you, and that's exactly where I was headed with this. Is that part of it right there,
Mhm.
where it's constant. That fear is always there. That
Yep.
doubt is always there, especially when you're a person when you've reached an awakening. And I like to look at it as no different than any other form of addiction. Where in my case, hurt, where I have the empath in me allow me to accept hurt for thinking I was, not worth more than that and what I've been through. So that part right there is to hold on
Mm,
to the fear. Because even to this day, like even right now, the fear's there. Those emotions are
mm,
still here.
mm,
Like personally, this last week was a really tough week for me
mm,
personally for a lot of different reasons. And I felt hurt. I've been emotional with certain things, but I felt growth.
mm.
Felt the fear, but I've
Right.
done so much work that I can contain it so that I can filter it to be a
Mm,
healthy part of it for me. So to understand that is to realize, trap of infinite improvement is possible
mm,
because I'm able to assess these things so that I don't get stuck in where I've grown and just be content with that.
mm,
Because because at this point, it allows my mind with this fear and these things that I'm enduring and processing, it allows me to think more in depth about, okay, what are resolutions to these concerns? How do I adapt, adjust, and progress to
right.
prevail through this process? So
Does
is mhm.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's fine.
Does motivation come in at some point when let's say you're a year out from where you used to be,
Mhm.
and you're like, all right, well, this is where I was before. Here's where I am now. It's 180. It's a complete 180 for me, and where I am now. Does knowing that does feeling that you are capable of handling the emotions that you wouldn't been able to handle 365 days before, does that now come into play? Like, are you telling yourself, I'm better than this, I know what to do, I've been through something like this before, and even if I haven't been through it, I have equipped myself with the tools to be able to get through it?
Yeah, that's definitely part of it. However, you don't want to allow yourself to rely on that, or in truth, you will be trapped.
Mm,
That is a trap in itself because you're
mm,
thinking past tense of who you were, who I
mm,
was 365 days ago. I am not that person now. Who I was
right.
yesterday, I'm not now. I'm a more evolved version of myself.
Mm,
So I can't allow myself to think back what may have worked yesterday for my
mm,
problems that I'm facing, that I'm carrying into this new day I'm here.
mm,
So I have to adjust. It's about adjusting your mindset constantly at all times. You have to constantly, it's the little things that you do that makes all
mhm.
the difference in preparation to get you to that next level
Okay.
of physical, mental, spiritual. It's a constant state of work, whether you're reading something that's
Mm,
going to help give you that elevation of growth of what you need, whether you're adjusting a new regimen to your workout, a new
mm,
tweak, a new set, a new repetition of something that you need to do to add on to that, those sort of things, or whether it's something that you're giving yourself that's for spiritual clarity, like
mm,
meditating or something. Like this week, I've done some meditating. I've done like I've mentioned to everyone, I do work on my affirmations,
mm,
adjusting some of it to be what I need to help me prevail through what I'm dealing with personally right now.
right.
Is those tactics that you learn where you become experienced through your
Mm,
experiences. You
okay.
don't become stagnant. You don't stay
Right.
there. The goal is to grow through it so that you don't become there, because eventually what will happen is that growth that you had attained will become familiar. And
Mhm,
when that happens to you, then you begin to plummet. And you don't want that. And because
mhm,
here's the thing, as long as you're alive, everyone, you're going to constantly grow and constantly move forward, right? So what you had of yesterday are yesterday's memories.
mm,
You tweak and you filter through those memories to be tools to get you to where you need to go. From any and every encounter, there's a lesson or something to be learned. So even now of what you're listening to us, I assure you, you're going to reassess where you are, what you're thinking of, and you can take at least one thing from this to help make you better, to avoid being in that infinite improvement. You don't want to
mm,
be in that sort of trap. It's a state of mind, is what that
right.
is. So for me, Jay, that point a year ago and going through different phases, you realize where you are and
Mm,
you become in tune with yourself to realize there's still work to be done.
right.
I have to assess what's happening right now around me, and I have to be in the moment and I have to
Mhm,
feel the emotions of it so that I can get to where I need to go, where the universe is pushing me towards, because I need what's for me,
right.
not what I feel now, what I'm going through. So
Mhm,
it's a delicate line to be aware of, and through that process of my journey, that's something that I had to attain in a state of mind in depth through that process, where initially, of course, it was all emotional.
mm,
Those sort of things sometimes they come from emotions. Comes from a very raw place where that does drive the motivation. Like, oh, I don't like feeling like this. I don't like being
right.
like this. I hate looking at
Right.
myself in the mirror. I hate seeing how I look. I hate how I feel when I wake up in the morning. I'm always so
Mm,
tired. I don't like interacting with people because I don't feel comfortable doing it. sometimes, the introvert part, some folks, like for me personally, as
Right.
outgoing as I am to the world, and
Mhm.
I don't say this much to people, but in truth, to my core, I'm more introverted because of how I was raised. So
Mm.
I know how to exert myself to be what I need to be
Right.
extroverted to the world. And I'm good and I'm great with it. But there are moments in time where I need to regress and pull back because of the
Mm.
introverted part of me needs to be recharged so that I could be my best self, so that I can focus on
Right.
the work and things. And honestly, that's what happened with me this week, where I said, "Oh, William, you got more growth you need to do."
Mm.
So that's good. That's a
Yeah.
good thing. Good thing you
No,
feel
it's
these.
it's always good to be able to understand yourself in order to check yourself because
Mhm.
there are some times that people aren't necessarily too much in tuned with whom they are, with what they are used to, what they are capable of. So they fall into this deep spiral and they don't feel as though they can get back out because they don't understand why they're there, how they got there, and how to get out. But I think, as you said, it's important that we all get to know who we are. We put our phones down, we hop off social media for a little bit, spend some time listening to yourself, to your own thoughts, get to know
Mhm.
yourself better, so you can actually be prepared better for when tragedy strikes or you have terrible weeks or terrible days. You know how to handle it and be productive. You know how to get through it and know that there is improvement from it on the other side, and that also allows you to level up. It also gets you to the point where you're like, all right, I'm not that anymore. As you said, you aren't who you were yesterday. You're somebody completely different. And I think as you continue to evolve, as you continue to improve, it is vital that you understand who you are so
Mhm.
that you understand where you're going. There's nothing worse than trying to constantly improve on something or trying to reach, I wouldn't even say an unattainable goal, but a goal that doesn't exist because there wasn't one put in place. So it's like you're on a treadmill. You're constantly running. The miles are building up, right? Your legs are constantly getting tired. Your knees are aching. I'm sure you're breathing as heavily as possible, but you're not literally moving anywhere. It gets tiring because you see yourself putting in the hours and you see that there is some difference being made, but you're not progressing. You're not improving as you believe that you should. So I think there is also a difference between, staying busy and being productive. A perfect example would be sometimes at work where we're working on things that aren't necessarily important and don't affect business practices for that day. It might be, writing a note to yourself about something, and that particular note may take 2 to 3 hours to make, but that's 2 to 3 hours that you coulda been using on something related to business, improving yourself, whatever. So I think there is a huge difference between just staying busy and being productive. And it's important that you understand that difference. It's important that you take advantage of being productive in order to continue to improve, but that improvement, you have to make sure that you are leveling up. You have to understand what the end of that improvement cycle is so that you can hop onto the next cycle and know that you have then built the foundation and the tools that are appropriate for you to make it to that next level.
I agree completely. So as it regards to being busy and being productive, it's so funny you say that because whenever I'm asked that question, a lot of the times,
Mm,
honestly, those who know me, I usually say this: I am productively busy,
mm,
because you have to be mindful in that part. But see, like you said, Jay, that's about building the tools to understand just what that really is, so
yeah,
that you can make sure that your time is being accounted for in a valuable way that's going to bring growth for you, however that looks. Now,
yeah,
okay, honestly, you're not going to always have time to be productive in a way that's going to
right,
generate growth for you in work, right? But in that moments and instances of being busy throughout life, you should be processing at times how can you, grow from whatever it is that you're dealing with, or put a plan in place so that you can have something, an objective to go towards, so
yeah,
that you can start generating that growth. So in order to do that, you need to make preparations with the tools you have, or strategize with yourself. What is it going to take for me to accomplish that? Like, you know what I mean? For example, we have 9 to 5s.
yeah,
Is that something that we plan to choose to want to do forever? No, not in that sort of instance.
No.
So that's being busy for sure.
Yeah.
But for us, and what we want to do productively and to grow is what we're doing right now,
Yep.
because we want to be able to reach more people. We really want to make truly a difference in this world in a way
Right.
that a real purpose is being served, and and with your help, that'll help us get to that point someday where we can do that and we can be more accessible and reach, and our outreach can grow through the world as we hope so.
Right.
So I think that's a good example of, the form of us being busy with our day-to-day lives as opposed to what we're making time to do now that's on our personal time for
Right.
growth for us, and the tools that we've built through the years, individually and together through brotherhood, to make this a reality so that
Mhm.
we can reach and be prepared through our growth and experiences for moments such as this.
Exactly.
So I think that, Jay, for me, is how I would like kind of put it into a perspective as it relates to the importance of growth, and from the trap of infinite improvement, where even with this and with us, we are conscious and mindful to what we need to do with you all, with the Chrome's community help to allow us to be able to bring the most sincere, realistic content at all times, to allow us to be able to share our personal experiences with you all, for
Mhm.
you to be able to give that back to us as well, so that we can adapt and be able to grow, to be able to reach everyone that this is for.
Right.
So those are the sort of things I like to look at, Jay. Um, to be totally honest with you, that's how I
Yeah.
see it. And I hope that we didn't go in depth per se. I didn't want to go in depth with uh this is what I did, that is what I did, this is what I did. We've had
Right.
some of those talks before, and in the
Mhm.
future we'll bring those things up as we go. And once you have an opportunity, when 21-3 method is ready, you'll be able to see full content in detail of everything that has of my journey on that
Yep.
regard, to get to where I am at this point, and where I'm headed, and to
Right.
join with us. And we will have things in the near future to come up, where we'll have certain events and things of such that we'll put together to be able to have a bigger outreach to everyone, so that you could be a part of that journey as well. Outside of just when the 21-3 method drops, I've had some people reach out to me individually, such as
Mhm.
Jay as well, and we just wanted to reiterate that to you, that there will be additional content and events, things in the future that we are working on as we speak, to avoid the trap of infinite improvement, so
Right.
that we can grow
Yep.
as a community.
That's
So
exactly
that's the
right.
objective of what we're doing right now, just to be transparent enough with everyone with
Mhm.
what we can be forthcoming about at this point. So continue to reach out, continue to ask those questions, and continue to, let us know what you're interested in, and what part of the community that you see forth in growing more, so we can
Right.
know exactly what areas that we want to be able to focus on for you all as well. So yeah, Jay, I think that's really what I wanted to touch myself on today,
Sure.
with like the mental aspect that's required for this, because that is what's going to see you through falling into that vicious loop, because it can happen at any time
It
without you
can.
realizing. That's the
Yeah.
problem, right, Jay?
Yep, absolutely. And I mean, when it hits you, man, it hits you. It's somewhat of a relapse, if you will, where you kind of go back into the same bad habits that you had before when, whatever happened, whatever situation arises that is tough to deal with.
Mhm.
People tend to reach, I want to say, retreat back to where they used to be, because that was comfortable for them. It was their sanctuary. It was where they felt best. Because again, when you are uncomfortable with being uncomfortable, you tend to revert back to the things that will bring comfort to you, whether it's comfort food, comfort shows, staying in bed longer, not working out, anything that is the path of least resistance. That's where people decide that they want to go back to. So it's important that as you improve, as you're going through that's what I'm always saying. It's important that you level up, because once you level up to a point, it becomes harder to fall back down all the steps, right? If I'm on step 26, it's very, very difficult for me to fall all the way back to step one. I might stumble and fall back to step 15, but I know, all right, step 30 is just a little ways away, and I know how to get there quickly. So it's important that you understand how to escape this trap. Of course, Achromous or any other business that is in business, they're in business to solve something. They're in business to produce a solution for you. So in terms of infinite improvement, one way that I know that we can improve and have a stage where we can say, okay, it's time for me to level up now. I'm no longer having to work on this idea, having to promote this idea, having to research this idea, build up this idea. Now it's time for me to actually put it to market. Now it's actually time for me to get feedback. Now it's time for me to literally start selling, right? And a lot of the time, a lot of people who I'd want to call entrepreneurs, these are these are people who they would start with an idea,
Yeah.
they would push it, they would tell their friends about it, tell their family about it, their close ones, their loved ones, and they never get to market. They don't even get close to selling. They don't build a website. They don't do anything that would get them to actually see the results that they're looking for.
Mhm.
And it's part of the same reasons that we talked about before: fear, misunderstanding, procrastination,
Yeah.
looking at themselves in the bad light, not having confidence in what they're pushing out. And this is a deterrent for them, and ultimately it falls flat. So how do you escape this? Well, you understand what your goals are. You know exactly what goal setting is all about, and I'm sure we'll get into a podcast episode where we will teach you how to not only set goals but crush those goals and continue to build upon the goals that you crush, so you're not constantly hitting the same goals over and over and over again. But for the sake of this one, you have to know where you're going. You have to have some type of direction, and that direction has to have some type of end date. There has to be an end to all of that, right? Not an end to your journey, but an end to that particular cycle. Because once you get to a point where you're like, I can now move on to the next level comfortably, knowing that I've learned everything I possibly can here, you have to know what that goal is, right? If I'm telling we'll see, we're going to produce a 21 method, and for example, we're going to be done by December 1st, right? So we know that as we begin to move closer and closer to that, each and every week we have to be a step closer to that end date. Because once that end date hits, that's it. Everything is banked on that. So I think besides knowing the end goal, you have to be accountable. You have to hold yourself accountable. You have to hold your partners accountable. Whoever is in your circle has to be able to hold you accountable to attain those goals. Because without any accountability, your deadline's going to keep coming in, and it's going to keep passing, right? Oh, well, it's going to be December. You know what? Now, I think April, next April, definitely we're going to go. God, April passed. What about August? August, I think, yeah, August is going to be the day we launch. August is here. You know what? I'm not comfortable putting it out there. Next November, that is going to be the date. Everybody's going to get it. It's going to be the greatest thing ever. No, you have to stick with what you say. You have to hold yourself accountable. You have to know exactly what your goals are. And I mean, folks, that is how you escape this infinite loop of improvement. That the way you do it is you understand your goals, you hold yourself accountable, and you just continue building. Are you going to know everything when you get to that goal? No, not everything is going to be ready. Not everything is going to be, it's going to be, a night and day sort of thing. You may not be as confident in what you believe the results are going to be. You may fear what the results are going to be, especially if you're letting people other than your friends or your family members review whatever you're going through, because then you're going to get some honest feedback. You're going to get some critical takes that you may not have been expecting. But it's important to get that so that you can continue to grow, so that you can continue to build something that is worth other people's time, not just your friends and family. So again, that is how you are able to escape that infinite loop of improvement.
Hmm. I think that's really well said, Jay. Um, you know, everyone, you just gotta again just keep in mind and strengthen the mind as much as you can.
Mhm.
Do the work productively,
Productive.
strategically,
Yep.
because you're worth it. You're so damn worth it. So it's important to remember that through the process
Mhm.
so that you can build the proper tools for what you need so
Mhm.
that these sort of instances does not become familiar.
Right. So I mean, look, we love you guys, as we say every single week, and we want to hear back from you. We value your opinions, we value your thoughts, your feedback. We obviously listen to it, and we want you to just keep it coming, man. Bring it in, man. This is a community that we're building. This is not us trying to talk down to you or tell you what to do. We are all in this together. We are all growing. We're all moving through it, and we want you to just join us to do the same thing. So this Sunday, I want to ask all you guys, share a time with us where you found yourselves doing a ton of work, but getting nowhere. I'm talking about some treadmill work where you're hitting the miles, you're pressing those nuts, you're on the incline, you're sweating, but at the end of it all, you're still in the same spot that you were. Tell us about a moment that you had like that and tell us how you overcame it, because I think that overcome story is the story that people tend not to explain or not understand. Sometimes we may take for granted the steps that we've taken because we aren't exactly where we want to be at that particular time.
Mhm.
You have to understand that with all these smaller goals that you're hitting, you are making progress, right?
Yeah.
You're not gonna have $1 million tomorrow, but that doesn't mean you're never going to have $1 million, right? You're still working a 9 to 5 today that you're probably not satisfied with, but that doesn't mean that in the future you can't own your own business.
Mhm.
Like, these things are all possible. If somebody else around the world's been able to figure it out, you can too, right? There's nothing that's particularly special about any of those people who have made it. Sure, some people may have started off at a different spot than you have. Some people may have had more money in the bank, so that gave them a leg up. But there are other people who literally started from nothing, right? You have tons of
Yeah.
stories of people who even immigrated to this country in the United States and have amassed a fortune because
Mhm.
they never gave up, they never quit, there was no fear, they kept pushing, they understood that there was a trap of infinite improvement and they avoided it. So,
Yes.
again, we want to be able to allow you to share with us a time where you felt like you were doing so much work, you were getting all this stuff done, you were working hard, but you got nowhere. And then let us know exactly how you improved upon that.
Absolutely. Or even to take that a step further, what are your current plans
Mm,
strategically to get you there?
yep,
What are you planning to take, and what measures are you willing to go,
yep,
and what are you willing to put yourself through to be a better you?
mhm, yep.
Just that.
I mean, it's again, it's constant improvement, but you have to make sure that you level up. Because if you're not leveling up and you're stuck at level 1 and you're continuing to tell people or tell yourself that you're improving, you're really just you're on a treadmill. That's it. That's all you're doing. You're on a treadmill. You're not really getting anywhere. You
The
may
people around you
be.
will see, Jay.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. They
they'll
will
see
be
it.
able to see. Yep.
See,
They'll say, "Man,
Mhm.
I thought weren't you doing that? You were doing that like last week too, right?" It's like, "Yeah, but because, timing and, money and, like, just, like, that's what ends up happening, right? You get called out. You get called out on your BS. So,
Yeah.
you literally have to level up. You have to keep moving up, right? You have to become comfortable with being uncomfortable. And I guarantee you, once you learn this, like this, I mean, we're giving you gems, y'all. Like, once you learn this, I can guarantee you that your life will improve.
That's very
That
true.
it is hard to do. Don't get me wrong, it is very hard to do. That's why not everybody does it, or at least they understand to do it initially. But once they get there, once they build those healthy habits, once they understand that they can avoid the trap of infinite improvement, their lives literally improve. Like,
Hmm.
it's really, it's as hard as you make it. It really is, because you can, if you literally decide and you commit and you become obsessed with whatever you are doing to better your life, to better the people's lives around you, it becomes easier to do because now you have a purpose, you know who you are, you know what your goals are, and you know where you're going. All of those things are important, and it's very important that you continuously avoid the trap of infinite improvement.
Well said, folks.
Yes.
Just remember, nothing that's worth having should come easy.
Mm.
Truthfully, it shouldn't.
Mhm.
It should require effort. It should
Mhm.
require a process.
Yep.
It should be difficult. It should
Yep.
be because it's well because you got to earn it. You got to earn it for you. So it's very very
Yep.
imperative to remember that part. At least that's what I tell myself. Anything in any
Mm.
area of my life that's worth having. Well, albeit if it were a relationship scenario, if it's
Mhm.
something that I think is worth having, it requires the time, the patience,
Yep.
the effort, where I have to earn that part with that particular person, different forms of whatever the relationship types are.
Right.
With work, same thing. If I want to perfect and get better at my craft, I have to
Mhm.
put the time in to realize the areas that I lack in weakness, not my strengths. Because my
Mhm.
strengths will be what it is and it will improve. But my areas of where I don't succeed as much as the areas I need to be really focused in on so that I can grow.
Yeah.
In business as well, as Jay just put perfectly, like those are the areas, these are the things for family too. Like you gotta make sure that you keep that in mind, that it truly comes down to that. Like if it comes too easy at a point, reassess yourself.
Yep.
Reassess yourself because then you've hit that trap of infinite improvement probably and didn't even realize it.
Yep. That's
No.
exactly right. That's
So
exactly
yeah.
right. You got don't sleep on yourself.
Don't.
Do not sleep on yourself because it'll bite you in the butt. You'll wake up one day and be like, wow, I thought I was supposed to be doing something. I completely forgot. Man, that's yeah, I have not improved at all. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean make sure that you're constantly moving, make sure that you're constantly improving. But
Mhm.
know where those goals are. Know your deadlines, hold yourself accountable, continue to build healthy habits.
Mhm.
And speaking of healthy habits, man, I want to say that next week's episode is going to cause a bit of a ruffle in our own community
Mhm.
because of the topic that we're going to be getting into.
Mhm.
A lot of people aren't really ready to hear some of the truth that we're going to be bringing out. And
Mhm.
of course, you know, our skin color, we're obviously black, right? I mean, I'm not going to sit up here and say that we identify as black. No, we're black. I mean, we are black
We
men.
are.
And we've grown up, we've been through it. If I don't want to say that, oh, if you're black, then you understand, but you would understand if you are. It's I'm trying to see how I can put this without getting too much into it at this time.
Uh-huh.
But there are certain habits that we've built in our community over the years that are inexcusable, just to say the least. There is a place I think that our community could be right now with some of the incredible work that people in the past have done. Leaders of our community, pillars of our community, have literally sacrificed their lives to be able to allow us to have a better life here in this country. But there are times where I sit back and I say, "Damn, are we really taking advantage of those opportunities? Are we squandering them? Are we giving ourselves a bad light? Are we giving ourselves a bad name?" Perception, I got to say this, perception is reality, right? I know a
Mhm.
lot of people are like, well, you know, perception is not reality. No, it is. It is. If people perceive you to be a certain way, they will take that to the bank.
Yep.
I cannot tell you that more. I can't express that enough. That if somebody sees you a specific type of way, they are going to think that that is who you are. I mean, we'll see. I know there were times where you were at work. I know for me, it's the same, right? There
Yep.
are people who come up to us that are not of the same race, or some of them are, and they would say, "Man, you're not like the others. Man, you're different." And
Yeah.
I'm sure people who look like this out there have heard this before. You are
Mhm.
different. You don't look the same, but you don't sound the same. Rather, you're not like the others. But then at the same time, there are people in our own community that would say, "Man, you talk white, man. You're an or are you an Oreo?" Like I've been called an Oreo growing up. An Oreo, if you're not familiar, you know what an Oreo looks like. It's black on
Mhm.
the outside, white on the inside, white filling on the inside, right? So I've been called that numerous times. There are times where I've been called an Uncle Tom. There are times when all these different names have come out. And what I want to say is that as a whole, as a people, as a community, we can do better.
Mhm.
Now, I'm sure you've heard that. You've heard that so many times. You've heard people say that, but nobody really develops or tells you the strategies that you should be taking in order to be a better person, just in general, in order to be looked at and perceived as a better person. um so again, it starts with you, right? It starts with yourself, but as a whole we have to do better.
I totally agree with you. Yeah, I've definitely faced the same kinds of encounters my entire life, even as a child, just because of the way I was able to articulate, and we'll touch base into the things that my mother took the time to invest into me, so
Hmm.
that I can grow my base, my knowledge, and I can be different, and to understand that that's okay. It's
Hmm.
okay, because it's so instances like that are reasons why people don't love themselves enough, because they're too afraid to be who they are,
Yep.
because they're too worried about what everyone else is going to think or say about them, regardless of creed.
Hmm.
So it's like, I think in those instances it's really important to address topics such as what's going to come up next week.
Yep.
And this is, it's very imperative to within the Black community. It's
Yep.
something that needs to be said,
Yep.
because we're at a point where we're in 2021, and there's a lot of things that are happening,
Hmm.
that the only way real change is going to come is individually, and through the movement of a community that
Yep.
really cares. So these topics do need to be addressed. As Jay said, I've been told the same thing a lot,
Hmm.
where the way I articulate, or there's been a pre notion of how I grew up,
Hmm.
whether albeit maybe in a church home, or somewhere wholesome like that, or
Yeah.
that I have several degrees under my belt. And it's like, that's great and all, but the reality of it is I should be judged on the merit based on an assumption,
Mhm.
rather than taking the time to get to know Will.
Yep.
So, as a person. um
Exactly.
so Jay, I think this is really a really important topic, like you
Yeah,
mentioned.
I mean, it's an uncomfortable subject, but of course, we are becoming comfortable with being uncomfortable,
Hmm.
and this discussion has to happen. And again, I know that there are people out there who have heard this before. This is not the first. This is not breaking news. This is not something that you've heard that we have to do better. But what ends up happening is that there aren't any particular strategies that come after somebody saying that statement. It's not saying, "All right, do X, Y, Z, and the results will be one, two, three." That does not seem to happen. It just seems that we're speaking into a void every time we say we got to do better. We got to stop doing this. We got to change our ways doing that. We got to How do you do it, right? What is the solution? How do we actually build strategies to be able to help our community? So again, next Sunday, that is exactly what we'll be talking about. Habit building strategies to help our own community. And what we want you to take from this is that perception perception, again, as I said before, is reality. It just is. So however you are perceived by anyone, regardless of their stature in life, regardless if they're a police officer, a teacher, a judge, anybody who has never seen you before, they're only going to take what they have learned about your particular community and run with it. They don't care who you are as a particular person. They only see what they see, because again, perception is reality. So again, Sunday, we want you to tune in. This is going to be a very special episode, especially with all the things that are happening in society today. I feel as though this is something that we needed to talk on, because
Hmm.
we have experience, we could relate. So next week, habit building strategies for our community. Tune in.
Yeah. So Jay, let's tell our lovely folks, how could we be reached for the newer comers?
Yeah, I mean, hey, if you're new, we'll take it easy on you this time. But if you've been here for all 14 episodes, shame on you if you have no idea how to find us. I'm sorry. I mean, look, it's been a long time, y'all. It's been 14 straight weeks with us. You better know. Achromous. You literally type that in on Google, you'll find us. You type that in on Spotify, you'll find us. You type that in on YouTube, you'll find us. You type that in on IG, you will find us. You type that in on Facebook, guess what? You will find us. We are everywhere, every place. We are growing constantly.
Yes.
And again, if you are not hip to Achromous the movement, if you are not hip to Achromous fitness, if you are not hip to Achromous in general, it is time for you to get hip. Ladies and gentlemen, Again, we want to thank you for joining us this Sunday. We want to thank you again for listening to what we had to say about the traps that you can get into in terms of infinite improvement. And next Sunday, again, a very special episode. It's a trending episode. It's a current topic that people are having in society, and we want to give you our take on it and teach you how to build specific strategies to improve yourself, therefore overall improving the community. So
Absolutely.
until next Sunday, I am J.H. Gibbons.
And I am Will C.
Peace.
Peace.
Ah.